Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive.
Yeah, great to be here.
Today we're going to be diving into Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins.
It's a classic.
It is, I've heard so many good things about it, so I'm excited to finally be cracking it open.
Me too.
For our deep dive and for our listeners who are really interested in personal growth and achieving their goals.
Yeah, that's what we're focusing on here today.
One of the first things that really struck me in this book was how Robbins emphasizes the power of decisions.
It's so fundamental, right?
Yeah, and he doesn't just talk about making the right choices, but about recognizing that even not making a decision
Is a decision.
is a decision in itself. Yeah.
Like that old saying, not choosing is still choosing.
Exactly. And he argues that often leads to feeling stuck or powerless, if we're not actively making choices.
Absolutely. We give up control.
Then we're kind of letting circumstances control us.
Exactly.
And he has this really interesting anecdote in the book about being over $750,000 in debt.
Oh, yeah. The story.
You don't talk about a high-pressure situation.
You think?
But instead of declaring bankruptcy, which would have been like the easy way out,
Sure.
he made a conscious decision to turn things around.
He decided to take control.
Yeah, it wasn't just wishful thinking. It
Right.
was a commitment to action. And he argues that that's the defining characteristic of a true decision.
That makes sense.
So it's not enough to just think about what we want.
You got to commit.
We have to actively choose it and then commit to taking action to make it happen.
Totally. I mean, that's where the rubber meets the road.
Absolutely. Another concept that I found really insightful was Robbins's idea that pain and pleasure drive our actions.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
So he's basically saying that we're all wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain.
That's like a fundamental human drive.
Right. And he suggests that by consciously linking pain to things we want to avoid.
Like bad habits,
Yeah, and pleasure to things we want to achieve,
goals, and good habits.
we can actually reprogram our behaviors.
It's about changing your associations.
So for example, instead of just saying, I should eat healthier, you might vividly imagine the long-term pain
Health problems, yeah.
of health problems caused by an unhealthy diet.
Right.
And then contrast that with the feeling of vitality and energy that comes with eating nutritious food.
It's all about creating those strong emotional connections.
And this principle applies to more than just food choices, right?
Oh, yeah,
It can
absolutely.
be applied to anything.
Think about your goals.
Yeah.
If you truly associate immense pleasure with achieving those goals
Mm-hmm.
and link pain to procrastination or giving up,
Oh, yeah.
you'll be amazed at how motivated you become.
That's such a practical takeaway.
It is.
It's not just about willpower.
Right.
It's about strategically using our natural pain and pleasure responses to drive us towards what we want.
You're hacking your own biology.
Exactly. Robbins also dives into how our beliefs shape our reality.
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting.
Yeah, so he argues that limiting beliefs hold us back,
Absolutely. They're like invisible barriers.
while empowering beliefs propel us forward.
They give you wings.
Yeah, and he tells this really compelling story about Marva Collins,
Oh, yeah, I love that story.
a teacher who achieved incredible results with her students
Right. She was amazing.
because she fiercely believed in their potential.
She saw the best in them even when they didn't see it in themselves.
Yeah, and it reminds me of the saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't.
You're right.
You're right. It's
Yeah.
a self-fulfilling prophecy.
If we believe we're capable of achieving something, we're far more likely to put in the effort and overcome obstacles.
Our beliefs shape our actions.
Absolutely. And Robbins doesn't just leave us with a feel-good concept.
Right.
He offers a practical strategy called modeling,
Oh, yeah, that's powerful.
where he suggests learning from successful people and consciously adopting their empowering beliefs.
It's like finding mentors, even if you don't know them personally.
So if your goal is to become a successful entrepreneur, for example, you might study the biographies
Read their books.
of successful entrepreneurs. Listen to their podcasts.
Pay attention to their mindsets.
How do they think?
And even try to visualize yourself thinking and acting in similar ways.
It's about rewiring your brain for success.
Exactly. Robbins believes that success leaves clues,
Yeah.
and we can learn a tremendous amount by studying those who have already achieved what we desire.
Absolutely. They've paved the way,
And this leads us to another powerful idea.
which is
K9.
which stands for a constant and never-ending improvement.
I love that.
So catchy, right?
Yeah, it's so simple but so profound.
So it's not about being perfect.
Nope.
It's about embracing the process of continuous growth
Yeah.
and striving to be just a little bit better each day.
Kaizen.
Yeah.
It's a Japanese philosophy of continuous improvement.
Robin sees life as an exciting adventure of learning and growth.
It's about the journey.
And Kenai is the fuel for that journey.
It keeps you moving forward.
Okay, so we're making decisions,
Yeah.
understanding our pain and pleasure drives,
Okay.
challenging our beliefs.
And embracing the idea of constant improvement.
Check.
It's a lot to take in, but I'm starting to see how these pieces fit together.
It's all interconnected.
Where does Robbins take us from here?
Well, he delves into the power of questions, arguing that the questions we habitually ask ourselves
Oh, yeah.
shape our thoughts, emotions, and ultimately our lives.
Our brains are incredible problem-solving machines,
They are.
but they need the right input.
Garbage in, garbage out.
So instead of asking, why am I so bad at this?
Right.
We should be asking, what can I do to improve?
It's a subtle shift, but it makes a huge difference.
It's about reframing our questions to focus on solutions and possibilities,
Yeah.
rather than dwelling on problems or limitations.
Exactly.
And Robbins gives a powerful example of W. Mitchell,
Oh, yeah, incredible story.
who survived severe burns and a plane crash.
Talk about resilience.
And he attributes Mitchell's resilience, at least in part,
Uh-huh.
to his ability to ask empowering questions like, how can I use this experience to help others?
Wow, that's powerful.
It's a testament to the power of our minds to shape our reality,
Absolutely.
even in the face of extreme adversity.
Our mindset matters.
And it leads us to another practical tool that Robbins offers,
Which is,
transformational vocabulary.
yes, the power of words.
He argues that the words we use to describe our emotions actually become our experience.
Our language shapes our reality.
So instead of saying, I'm stressed out,
Right.
I might say, I'm feeling challenged.
Much better.
That subtle shift in language can actually change how I feel and how I approach the situation.
It's like reframing the situation.
I've actually noticed this in my own life.
Oh, yeah.
When I catch myself using negative or dramatic language,
We all do it.
I try to reframe it using more empowering words.
It takes practice, but it's so worth it.
It makes me wonder, what other subtle shifts in language can we make
Yeah, good
to
question.
create more positive emotional states?
It's something to be mindful of.
Absolutely. And speaking of shifting our perceptions, Robbins introduces the power of metaphors.
Yes. Metaphors.
Those figures of speech that help us understand one thing in terms of another.
They could be so powerful.
I love metaphors.
Me too.
They can be so powerful in helping us understand complex concepts.
Right.
Or even just to make everyday language more colorful and engaging.
They add flavor.
Robbins points out that we often use metaphors unconsciously.
Yeah, we don't even realize it.
And these metaphors can either empower us or disempower us.
They shape how we see the world.
For example, if you constantly tell yourself life is a battle,
Oh, yeah.
you're likely to approach life with a combative mindset,
Always expecting a fight.
always expecting a fight. But what if we shifted that metaphor to life as a dance?
Ooh, I like that.
It would completely change how we move through the world, wouldn't it?
It would be more graceful, more fluid.
And Robbins gives this great story of a man who felt like he was carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Oh, yeah, poor guy.
And Robbins simply asked him to imagine setting that weight down.
Wow.
And the man's emotional state instantly shifted.
The power of imagination.
It's amazing how a simple shift in perspective can have such a profound impact.
It's all about changing your internal dialogue.
Robbins challenges us to become more aware of the metaphors we're using
Yeah.
and to consciously choose ones that create a sense of possibility, joy, and freedom.
Metaphors for empowerment.
And speaking of managing our emotions, Robbins dedicates a significant portion of the book to mastering our emotional states.
It's a key part of personal growth.
He argues that emotions aren't something to be feared or avoided,
No, they're valuable information.
but rather valuable signals that can guide us to take action.
He calls them action signals.
I love that term.
It's a great way to think about them.
So it's not about suppressing our emotions.
Right.
It's about understanding their messages
Right.
and using them as fuel for positive change.
Emotions are data.
Robbins breaks down several common emotions, explaining their messages
Uh-huh.
and offering potential solutions.
It's like a troubleshooting guide for your emotions.
For example, he says that hurt often signals a need for clearer communication,
Makes sense.
while anger might indicate a need to set boundaries
Or reevaluate our expectations.
or reevaluate our expectations.
Right.
He also talks about guilt, suggesting that instead of wallowing in it,
Yeah.
we can use it as a springboard for positive change, a reminder to uphold our values in the future.
Guilt can be a motivator,
It's about reframing those negative emotions as opportunities for growth.
turning lemons into lemonade.
And it leads us into another key concept from Awaken the Giant Within,
Which is?
the values hierarchy and the rules we create around those values.
Ah, yes, the blueprint for our lives.
Okay, let's unpack this one.
I'm ready.
I know you're going to make this fascinating.
I'll do my best.
Robbins says that we all have a hierarchy of values,
Right.
those things that are most important to us in life.
Like love, security, freedom, adventure.
But he also points out that we create rules, often unconsciously,
We do.
that determine whether we feel like we're meeting those values.
These rules can be helpful or hurtful.
So even if we achieve something that we thought we wanted,
Yeah.
if it conflicts with our deeper values or our rules for how those values should be met,
Right.
we might end up feeling unfulfilled.
It's like achieving the wrong goal.
He uses a compelling example of Jolie,
Oh, yeah. Jolie in Disneyland.
a woman who landed her dream job at Disneyland,
Right.
but ended up feeling unhappy.
Because it wasn't aligned with her true values.
It turned out that her job was conflicting with her higher values, like spending time with her family.
And having flexibility.
Yeah, having flexibility.
Yeah.
That's such a relatable example.
It is.
It makes you think about your own life. Are you living in alignment with your true values?
Big question.
Are your rules supporting those values?
Or creating unnecessary stress.
Or creating unnecessary stress and frustration?
It's worth examining.
Robbins encourages us to get clear on our values hierarchy
Absolutely.
and to examine the rules we've created around those values.
Are they empowering or limiting?
Are they empowering us or are they setting us up for disappointment?
It's about taking control.
He even differentiates between moving toward values, things we want more of, like love, joy, and success,
The good stuff.
and moving away from values.
The things we want to avoid.
Things we want to avoid, like fear, rejection, or failure.
Right.
So understanding whether we're primarily motivated by seeking pleasure or avoiding pain can be really helpful in understanding our own behaviors and choices.
It gives you insight into your motivations.
And Robbins argues that our rules can sometimes be too rigid or unrealistic,
Yeah, perfectionism can be a real problem.
setting us up for a constant feeling of not good enough.
It's a recipe for unhappiness.
For example, if your rule for feeling successful is achieving perfection in every area of life,
Oh, yeah. Good luck with that.
you're probably going to feel like a failure most of the time.
It's an impossible standard.
It's about finding that balance between striving for excellence and being kind to ourselves, recognizing that perfection is an impossible standard.
Self-compassion is key.
Robbins suggests creating rules that are both challenging and achievable.
Yeah, find that sweet spot.
Rules that support our growth without creating unnecessary pressure or self-judgment.
It's about being your own best coach.
This is all starting to make so much sense.
It's all coming together.
It's like we're building a toolkit for creating a more empowered and fulfilling life, one concept at a time.
Exactly. Robbins gives us the tools.
And speaking of building upon our understanding, Robbins next introduces the concept of references.
References.
He says our past experiences, both real and imagined,
Yeah, our memories and beliefs.
shape our beliefs and influence how we see the world.
Our experiences become our filter.
It's like our experiences become the lens through which we view everything else.
Exactly.
But if our lens is distorted by negative experiences or limiting beliefs, it's going to color our perception of reality.
It can make everything look bleak.
And this is where things get really interesting.
I'm listening.
Robbins emphasizes the importance of expanding our references,
Ah, yes. Getting out of our comfort zones.
seeking out new ideas and experiences that can challenge our limiting beliefs.
Right.
And open us up to new possibilities.
Expanding our horizons.
So it's not just about changing our thoughts.
It's about changing our experiences, too.
It's about changing our experiences.
Exactly.
Robbins gives a great example of a woman who went through a really tough experience.
Oh, yeah. What happened?
She was publicly humiliated,
Ouch.
but instead of seeing it as proof that people are cruel or life is unfair,
Right.
she focused on the outpouring of support she received.
That's a great example of reframing.
That's so powerful.
It is.
It's about choosing where we focus our attention.
Yes.
And how we interpret our experiences.
We have more control than we realize.
Robbins encourages us to actively seek out experiences that can expand our perspectives
Yeah.
and help us create more empowering beliefs about ourselves and the world around us.
It's about becoming lifelong learners.
I'm starting to see a recurring theme here.
What's that?
It's about taking control of our thoughts,
Yes.
our emotions,
Yes.
our beliefs, even our experiences.
To create the life we want.
Create the life we want.
That's the whole point of this book.
And it leads us into another key concept from Awaken the Giant Within,
Which is,
the power of identity.
ah, yes, who we believe we are.
Robbins argues that our identity is not just who we are.
But also who we believe ourselves to be.
This is where it gets really deep.
It does.
So our identity shapes our perceptions,
Yes.
our actions, and ultimately our destiny.
It's the foundation of our lives.
He uses a great story of Deborah,
Deborah the skydiver.
a woman who transformed her identity from wimp to adventurer.
By facing her fears.
By confronting her fears and going skydiving.
Wow, that's a big leap.
Talk about a dramatic shift in identity.
It is.
It's incredible how a single experience can completely change how we see ourselves.
Sometimes it takes a radical act to break free from our old identity.
It highlights the power we have to consciously shape our identities.
We're not stuck with who we were yesterday.
Robbins challenges us to examine our own identities,
Yeah.
or to identify any limiting labels we might be carrying.
What labels are holding you back?
So if I believe I'm a shy person,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to act in ways that reinforce that belief.
Right.
But what if I decided to be outgoing or confident?
Try it on, see how it feels.
Would that change how I show up in the world?
I think it would.
Robbins believes it absolutely would.
He does.
He encourages us to experiment with different aspects of our identities,
Play with different roles.
to try on new labels and to see how they feel.
It's about expanding our self-concept.
It's about recognizing that our identities are not fixed,
No.
but rather fluid and adaptable.
We're constantly evolving.
It's like we're not just characters in a story, we're the authors.
I like that.
We have the power to write our own narratives and to create the identities we want to embody.
We're the creators of our own lives.
That's a powerful way to put it.
It is.
And speaking of creating our destinies, Robbins dedicates a whole chapter to mastering time in our lives.
Ah, yes. Time management.
He argues that time is not something that happens to us,
But rather something we create.
but rather something we create through our focus and our actions.
It's not a fixed entity.
This reminds me of the quote, "The bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot."
I love that quote.
So we have more control over our experience of time than we realize.
We do.
But how do we actually master it?
That's the million-dollar question.
Robbins emphasizes the importance of time management, not just for productivity,
Right.
but also for reducing stress and creating a more fulfilling life.
It's about making time for what matters.
I think we could all use a little less stress and a little more fulfillment.
Amen to that.
What are some of the specific strategies he suggests?
Well, he talks about the power of small, consistent decisions,
Okay.
arguing that our destinies are not shaped by grand gestures,
Yeah.
but rather by the accumulation of countless daily choices.
So it's those little drops of water that eventually carve out canyons.
Exactly.
It's the consistency that creates the impact.
It's about the compound effect.
So it's not about making drastic changes overnight.
Right.
It's about making those small, consistent choices that add up over time.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
It's a bit less intimidating when you think about it that way.
It is.
Robbins even challenges the idea that we need to wait for the perfect time or the perfect circumstances to take action.
Oh, yeah. He's all about taking action now.
He says that the perfect time is now.
Yep.
And the perfect circumstances are the ones we create through our choices.
We're in the driver's seat.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to shape our lives in each moment,
Absolutely.
not just in some distant future.
The future is now.
That's a powerful concept.
It is.
And it leads us into another key theme from Awaken the Giant Within,
Which is?
the importance of contribution.
Yes, giving back.
Robbins argues that true fulfillment comes not just from achieving our own goals, but also from making a difference in the lives of others.
It's about something bigger than ourselves.
I love that.
Me too.
It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected
Yeah, we're all in this together.
and that our actions have a ripple effect on the world around us.
Our actions matter.
Robbins encourages us to find our own unique ways to contribute to our families,
Yeah.
our communities, and the world at large.
Leaving the world a better place.
He calls it being a hero in everyday life.
I love that idea.
It's a beautiful way to think about it.
It is.
It's not about wearing capes and saving the world from villains.
Right.
It's about those small acts of kindness, generosity, and service that make a difference in the lives of others.
It's the little things that add up.
And he shares this really inspiring story about a group of people who missed seeing a solar eclipse
Oh, yeah. What the-
because they got stuck in traffic.
Oh, no.
Instead of getting upset or frustrated,
Right?
they turned it into a fun and memorable experience by sharing stories and laughing together.
That's awesome.
That's a great example of choosing to focus on the positive,
Yeah.
even when things don't go according to plan.
It's all about perspective.
It reminds us that happiness isn't always about getting what we want.
Sometimes it's about making the best of what we have.
It's about making the most of what we have and finding ways to connect with others and create joy even in the midst of chaos.
That's a great takeaway.
Absolutely, and I think that's a perfect place to pause for part 1 of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
We've covered a lot of ground, exploring the power of decisions, pain, and pleasure beliefs, questions.
Transformational vocabulary.
Transformational vocabulary metaphors,
Yep.
emotions as action signals.
Values hierarchies.
Values, hierarchies, rules, references, identity mastering time.
And the importance of contribution.
Wow, that's quite a journey already.
It is.
I'm feeling inspired and motivated to keep exploring these ideas.
Me too.
And I can't wait to see where we go in part 2.
Stay tuned, folks.
Stay tuned because we've got even more insights and practical strategies from Awaken the Giant Within to unpack.
Welcome back for part 2 of our deep dive into Awaken the Giant Within.
I'm ready for more.
We're going to dig into some of the really practical strategies.
Yeah, in the last part, we talked a lot about the power of our minds
Right.
to shape our reality, but how do we actually go about changing those deep-seated patterns and beliefs?
One of the most powerful techniques Robbins introduces is Neuro-Associative Conditioning, or NAC for short.
Okay, NAC, I'm intrigued.
It's a mouthful, but it's basically about understanding how our brains link experiences and emotions,
Okay,
and then using that knowledge to create new positive associations.
so how does that actually work in practice?
Well, it starts with identifying the pattern you want to change. So let's say you want to overcome procrastination.
Okay, classic example.
Right, so first you got to get crystal clear on why you want to change. What pain is procrastination causing you?
Miss deadline stress, feeling like I'm not reaching my potential.
Exactly. So you're linking pain to procrastination. Then you focus on the pleasure you'd experience by being more proactive.
Okay, so a sense of accomplishment, reduced stress, the joy of reaching my goals.
Right. And Robbins suggests making those associations as vivid and intense as possible.
So really feeling those emotions.
Yeah, like really immerse yourself in them.
Okay, got it. What's next?
Next, you got to interrupt the old pattern. And Robbins has this wild story in the book
Oh, I love his stories.
about a guy who was addicted to chocolate.
Okay.
And he actually made the guy eat so much chocolate that he was totally sick of it.
Oh, wow.
It's a bit extreme,
Hmm.
but it illustrates the principle
Well, breaking the association.
of disrupting those ingrained neural pathways.
So you're basically overloading the system until the old association breaks down.
Exactly. It's like hitting the reset button.
That's fascinating.
Then once you've interrupted the pattern, you create a new empowering alternative.
Okay, so in the case of procrastination,
You might replace that habit with a new ritual of planning your day, prioritizing tasks, and rewarding yourself for staying focused.
so you're replacing a negative behavior with a positive one.
And then reinforcing that new association through repetition and positive emotions.
I see, it's like training your brain.
Exactly. And Robbins emphasizes the importance of conditioning. The more we practice the new behavior and link it to pleasure,
Mm.
the stronger those new neural pathways become.
So it becomes automatic almost?
He even suggests celebrating small wins along the way
Oh, I love that.
to reinforce that sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, those little victories keep you motivated.
It's funny how this ties back to what we discussed earlier, decisions, pain, and pleasure beliefs.
It's all connected.
It really is a holistic approach to personal growth. And this leads us to another key aspect, mastering our emotions.
Okay, emotions, that's a big one.
It is, Robbins argues that emotions are powerful tools for creating the life we desire.
But they can also be challenging to manage.
Absolutely. But we need to become skilled at managing them. He suggests that most of us only experience a limited range of emotions on a regular basis.
I can see that we get stuck in our routines, even our emotional routines.
Exactly. So how do we expand our emotional repertoire?
Yeah, how do we break free from those emotional ruts?
Robbins encourages us to become more aware of our emotional states and to develop the ability to shift from disempowering emotions to empowering ones.
Okay, so from negative to positive.
He calls the empowering emotions the emotions of power.
Emotions of power, I like that.
Things like love, joy, passion, gratitude, curiosity, excitement.
Those sound like pretty awesome emotions to cultivate.
They are, and he argues that these emotions fuel our creativity, inspire us to take action, and help us connect with others.
I can see how that would be true. When I'm feeling those positive emotions, I'm more likely to be productive and engaged.
Exactly. But what about the not-so-awesome ones? Fear, anger, sadness.
Yeah, those are tough ones.
Robbins emphasizes that these emotions aren't inherently bad. They're signals that something needs to change.
So they're trying to tell us something.
But if we allow ourselves to get stuck in those negative emotional states, they can create a downward spiral of negativity.
So how do we shift gears? How do we go from feeling anxious or frustrated to feeling more positive and empowered?
Robbins offers a technique called changing your state.
Changing your state. Okay, I'm listening.
He points out that our emotional state is a combination of our physiology, our focus, and our language.
So our body, our mind, and our words.
Exactly. By changing any one of these elements, we can instantly change how we feel.
So if I'm feeling down, I might try changing my posture, taking some deep breaths, or listening to some upbeat music.
Those are all great examples. Simple shifts in physiology can have a surprising impact on your mood.
I've definitely noticed that sometimes just getting up and moving around can change my whole outlook.
And Robbins also talks about the power of changing our focus. If we're dwelling on negative thoughts or worries, we're going to feel worse.
Yeah, it's like those thoughts just keep swirling around in your head.
But if we can shift our focus to something positive, inspiring, or even just neutral, our emotional state will shift as well.
So it's about consciously choosing where we direct our attention.
He even suggests creating a success ritual, a set of empowering questions to ask ourselves each morning to set the tone for the day.
Oh, I like that idea. A morning ritual to get your mind right.
He calls them the morning questions, and they're designed to focus our minds on gratitude, excitement, and possibility.
So it's about starting the day with intention rather than just reacting to whatever comes our way.
Exactly. It's about being proactive with your emotions.
I love that it's like setting the stage for a positive and productive day.
And Robbins also suggests evening questions to help us reflect on the day and set ourselves up for restful sleep.
Evening questions, what kind of questions?
Things like, what did I learn today? What am I proud of? Who do I love? It's about ending the day on a note of appreciation and gratitude.
It's so easy to get caught up in the busyness of life and forget to pause and appreciate the good things.
These simple rituals can help us shift our perspective.
Speaking of creating a fulfilling life, Robbins dives into the importance of understanding our values and aligning our actions with those values.
We talked about the values hierarchy earlier, but he takes it a step further
Oh, how so?
by distinguishing between our means values and our end values.
Okay, means values and end values. I'm curious about this distinction. What's the difference?
Means values are the things we believe we need in order to achieve our end values.
Okay, so give me an example.
So we might value money as a means to achieve security or freedom, or we might value a certain job as a means to achieve success or recognition.
I see, those are the stepping stones.
But Robbins warns that we can sometimes get so focused on the means values that we forget about the end values.
So we might spend our lives chasing money or status without ever actually experiencing the security, freedom, success, or recognition we truly desire.
It's like we're so busy climbing the ladder that we forget to ask if it's even leaning against the right wall.
That's a great analogy.
So Robbins challenges us to get clear on our end values, those things that truly matter to us, and to make sure our actions and choices are aligned with those values.
So it's not just about achieving goals, it's about making sure those goals are actually leading us towards a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling.
And speaking of finding meaning, Robbins emphasizes the power of contribution. He argues that true fulfillment comes not just from achieving our own goals, but also from making a difference in the lives of others.
I love this concept. It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected and that our actions have a ripple effect on the world around us.
He calls it being a hero in everyday life, finding those small and large ways to contribute to our families, our communities, and the world around us.
I love that reframing. So it's not about wearing capes and saving the world from villains. It's about those small acts of kindness, generosity, and service that make a difference in the lives of others.
And he gives some great examples in the book, like volunteering our time at a local charity, or simply being a good listener for a friend who's going through a tough time.
It's about using our unique talents and abilities to make a positive impact in whatever way we can.
And Robbins even provides a list of organizations and causes that need support, encouraging us to take action and make a difference.
It's inspiring to think about the collective impact we can have when we all choose to contribute in our own ways.
Absolutely, and I think that's a perfect place to pause for part 2 of our deep dive.
It's been an incredible journey so far, and I can't wait to continue exploring the wisdom of Awaken the Giant Within in part 3. Stay tuned for even more insights and practical strategies. And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Awaken the Giant Within.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has. We've covered so much ground, but I know there's still more to explore.
Definitely in this last section, Robbins really focuses on mastering time and creating a compelling future.
That sounds perfect. We talked a lot about aligning our actions with our values,
Right.
but it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and feel like time is slipping away.
Yeah, Robbins addresses that sense of urgency head on.
So what's his secret?
Well, he actually challenges that whole perception that we're constantly running out of time.
Okay, that's interesting.
Instead, he argues that time is something we create through our focus and actions.
I've never thought about it that way.
Think about it when you're completely absorbed in something you love. Time just flies by.
That's so true.
But when you're bored or anxious, time seems to drag on forever.
Well, it's like time is relative to our experience.
Exactly. So Robbins suggests that instead of viewing time as this limited resource,
Yeah.
we can choose to see it as an expansive opportunity to create the life we want.
It's a totally different way of thinking about time.
It is. It's about shifting our perspective.
So how do we actually make that shift? How do we go from feeling overwhelmed by time to feeling empowered by it?
Well, Robbins emphasizes the importance of focusing on what we can control.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's so easy to get caught up worrying about things outside our control. The weather, traffic, other people's opinions.
Oh, yeah, I do that all the time.
But those worries, they just drain our energy and distract us from what we can actually influence.
He's right. I need to stop worrying about things I can't change.
Exactly. And so instead of getting stuck in that worry cycle, Robbins suggests asking ourselves this empowering question.
Okay, what is it?
What's the one thing I can do right now
Right now.
that'll make the biggest difference?
Wow, that's a powerful question.
It helps us move from overwhelm to action, from feeling powerless to feeling empowered.
It's like a call to action.
And Robbins also highlights the power of making small, consistent decisions.
We talked about that in the last part.
We did. He argues that our destinies are not shaped by grand gestures.
But by those small daily choices.
Exactly what we eat, how we move our bodies, how we spend our time, the words we speak to ourselves and others.
It's all those little things that add up.
And Robbins even challenges the idea that we need to wait for the perfect time or the perfect circumstances to take action.
He does, doesn't he?
He says the perfect time is now, and the perfect circumstances are the ones we create through our choices.
So we don't have to wait for everything to be perfect to get started.
Absolutely. We can start creating our ideal future right now.
Okay, so we've covered mastering our time, but what about creating a future we're truly excited about?
Well, Robbins dedicates a whole chapter to that. He calls it creating a compelling future.
A compelling future that sounds inspiring.
It is. It's about setting goals that inspire us, that pull us forward, that give us a sense of purpose and direction.
I love that. But it's easy to get stuck in just wishing for a better future.
It is. But Robbins challenges us to think big, to dream beyond our current limitations, and to imagine the life we would truly love to live.
I like where this is going.
And he even suggests writing down our goals in vivid detail as if they've already been achieved.
So it's like creating a mental and emotional blueprint for the future we desire.
Exactly. And he also talks about the importance of taking action,
Yeah.
breaking those big goals down into smaller, manageable steps, and celebrating our progress along the way.
That makes sense. It's much less intimidating to focus on those smaller steps.
And Robbins emphasizes the importance of persistence, of not giving up on our dreams, even when we face setbacks or challenges.
I think that's so important. It's easy to get discouraged when things get tough.
But Robbins reminds us that success is not a straight line, but rather a winding path with twists and turns along the way.
It's about enjoying the journey and learning from our mistakes.
Exactly. And finally, Robbins concludes, Awaken the Giant Within, with a powerful call to action,
Okay, I'm ready.
to become a hero in our own lives and in the world around us.
That sounds familiar.
We touched on this idea earlier, but he really emphasizes it here. He argues that true fulfillment comes not just from achieving our own goals, but also from making a difference in the lives of others.
I think that's a beautiful message. It's about recognizing that we're all connected and that we have a responsibility to contribute to something bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. And Robbins reminds us that we all have unique talents and abilities that we can use to make a positive impact.
You know, throughout this whole deep dive, I've been thinking about my own goals and what truly matters to me.
Yeah.
And one thing that keeps coming up is this desire to make a difference in the fight against climate change.
That's fantastic. It sounds like this deep dive has really helped you tap into a deep-seated passion.
It really has, and Robin's call to action has inspired me to explore ways I can contribute to this cause.
That's wonderful. What are some ideas you've had?
Well, maybe I can volunteer with a local environmental organization or find ways to reduce my own carbon footprint.
Those are great ideas. Even small actions can make a difference.
This deep dive has been an incredible journey.
It has.
We've explored so many powerful concepts and practical strategies for personal growth, and I'm walking away feeling inspired, empowered, and ready to take action.
That's what it's all about.
I hope our listeners are feeling the same way.
Me too.
Awaken the Giant Within is truly a treasure trove of wisdom, and I'm so grateful that we had the opportunity to share it with everyone.
It's been a pleasure.
Remember, the journey of personal growth is ongoing, so keep exploring, keep growing, and keep striving to become the best version of yourself.
Thanks for joining us.